I'm life and business coach Samantha Sifring, and this is the Online Business Building Mamas podcast, where you learn how to build a wildly successful business from home while raising kids. Before we get into today's episode, I wanted to pop in and let you know that Design 2022 is open for registration right now. This is the ultimate annual planning event for all female business owners. And chances are, if you're hearing this, you've probably participated in a design before. And if you haven't, you are in for a major treat. This training that I do is so good that my paying clients still sign up for it year after year. So here's what we do. I create a pop-up Facebook group and send you a little bit of worksheets to do every day. And then we all come together once a day for 5 days straight, and I go live in this group for teaching and guiding you through that day's work and a lot of coaching. This is going to equip you with both your goal for 2022 and your very clear plan for how to create it. If you are somebody who has maybe tried goals and tried planning before and it hasn't really worked out for you, it is because you don't have the tools that I teach in this training. These are the things that are going to shift everything for you in your business. And I have countless students who started with design, completely changed their relationship with goals and their business, and then have continued on to work with me and made tons of money. So I really encourage you to sign up for this free 5-day event. Like I said, it's completely free. You have no reason not to sign up. So go to 2022.samanthasifring.com and register now. This is happening from December 6th through 10th, so it's coming up soon. Make sure you are there. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the podcast. Today, we are talking about how to get things done. So, recently, you heard that I have ADHD and that it kind of made me reevaluate. Has everything that I've created about time and motivation and all of that just been like my ADHD brain hacks? And potentially that might be the case. And this might be another one. But I think that this one is going to serve you no matter what variety, flavor of brain you have. This is going to be super helpful for you because I think I am pretty exceptional at getting things done and getting them done quickly. Maybe like a couple months ago now, I posted a schedule of my day on Instagram, and one of my clients was stunned at how productive I was. And to me, it felt like a normal day. I'm really have been working like this whole year on really tailoring down my work week to 3 days and being disciplined about that, like keeping my work in 3 days and then having those days be super productive, having them be really focused on getting things done. So my client saw that and she kind of felt a little bad about how productive I was and how she feels like she's not that productive. So I asked her, how do you think I get all of that stuff done? And we had a really interesting conversation about it. I think it was super helpful for her, but I really wanted to do a podcast episode where I tell all of you how to get things done. I give you my secrets. I explain why it's difficult. And so that is what we're doing today. So Here is basically the number one reason why it's difficult for anybody to get anything done. And that is what you are telling yourself and about the thing. That's really it. So I want you to really open your mind to that. Like, what if getting things done was only difficult because of the stories I'm telling myself about it? I want you to start thinking about that. I want you to start processing that. So some of you, this is kind of like separate from what I'm going to teach about today, but I want to address it a little bit because this is the case for some of you with getting things done. Some of you just have like inaccurate, unkind standards. Like your idea of how much you should be getting done is not like nice to yourself. Your list for the day of all the things that you're getting done is like 85 things for your business, plus make dinner, plus clean the house. Oh, and you have a child at home. Like, no. That's a no. So first of all, I want you to be really realistic and kind to yourself with your expectations, especially as you are doing the work, the mental work that I'm going to be talking about today. I want you to be gentle and kind to yourself. That is like step one, right? Is having kindness for ourselves and just being nice. That's how I think of it. I kind of think about like the you that is scheduling something or like making the list or creating the expectations. I think about that you's relationship with future you. Future you who's going to look at this schedule or look at this to-do list and feel defeated immediately, potentially because you set them up for failure instead of something they could actually do, or a future you that's going to feel really supported. And I think this concept of the relationship with past you and future you is something that really, really serves me when I think about getting things done in my business in particular. So that is what I'm focusing on in this episode, is getting things done for your business. I think it is a little different maybe than getting things done in personal life and that kind of thing. There's just different baggage and expectations and that kind of thing in those different areas of your life. So I'm particularly talking about business today. So that first thing I want you to think about is the relationship that you're having with future you when you are making your schedule or your list, whatever it is, when you're setting those expectations. So the first step on getting things done is having really accurate expectations and starting off small, gentle, super kind to future you so that they don't sit down and feel defeated right away. So now let's talk about what you are telling yourself, because I think that this can be a huge stumbling block for a lot of you, is the things that you're telling yourself. So I want to imagine this. Let's just use the example of writing a post for social media. I wrote some posts for social media today, so I went through this whole process with myself. So this is what happens to a lot of my clients, to a lot of you who are listening. You sit down to write something and you have a couple of thoughts going on in your mind. You have thoughts like, I'm not good at writing. You have thoughts like, I'm really confused about my messaging. My messaging isn't working. And maybe thoughts like, this post needs to get calls booked or needs to make sales or needs to get me clients. So there's a couple different things going on here. I've put these in two categories. One is thoughts about yourself, and one is thoughts about the thing that you're trying to do, the thing that you're doing. So thoughts about yourself are about your, like the way that you work, the way that your brain works, your relationship to the thing that you're doing, the skills that you have, that kind of thing. So a big one that I see that all of my clients struggle with is thinking that they're not good at writing. I have just always thought that I was good at writing, and so I am good at writing. I think that's just what I think. So I want to offer to you that writing is a lot easier when you think that you're good at it. And so here's what I do. When I think that I'm good at it, I literally just hear myself talking in my mind and type those things down. I don't know if that's like what everybody's trying or what, but I don't try to edit it as I go. Like I don't try to like plan out the perfect post or sentence in my mind and then like write it down. I don't like put some words down and then go back and edit. Like it is like verbal diarrhea from my brain through my fingers into the keyboard, into the computer. So if you struggle with writing and that's not the approach you take, I want you to try that because that works really well for me. It's the same as being here on my podcast, right? Like I came here with a few bullet points and then just let it come out. And it's very similar to my writing process and it just works. But I know for a lot of you, you are way better at talking things out. So I want to recommend, if that's you, why don't you try voice dictation? I want you to try that. You can do it in Google Docs totally for free. It's going to butcher like half the words that you say, but that's okay. You can go back and figure it out. I used to use that so much actually. When I was first a life coach, I worked for another coach, and the way that she had us work with clients was both through like one-on-one calls, but also through written coaching. So they would basically just like send me a journal entry and I would respond back. And through that, I just noticed like written coaching is not my most favorite thing because it wasn't like a back and forth. Like for instance, in Mom It Is CEO, the way that we do our Ask a Coach function right now allows for a back and forth. So like the coach will ask you a question and then you can respond and you can be kind of like coached in the comments. And so that is just what I find a little more comfortable. But this would be like paragraphs from the client and I would have to respond like with a few paragraphs. And for some reason, I just really didn't like writing and coaching in that format. So what I would do is basically do this. Like I would just get on and talk like I was recording a podcast episode, but I would be on Google Docs doing voice dictation and Google Docs would just write down the whole thing. I would go back through and edit. I would take out all of the ums and likes and all those things and just tidy it up a little bit. And then I would copy and paste and ta-da, it was done. So you can actually do that with any of your content. You can do that same thing. So just a little hack. This is like taking a detour, but I wanted to just tell you that like you have permission to do that. It doesn't have to be hard. I think a lot of you think that working in your business has to be really hard. And I want you to just always look for what's easy. Like there's enough work in the business. We don't have to like make things harder than they need to be. So always be looking for the ways to make it easier for yourself to set yourself up for success. So the things that you might be telling yourself about you, it's things like I'm not good at writing. It's things like I haven't figured out my messaging or I don't know how to make an offer or those kinds of things. Things that just don't serve you. Those things are all going to slow you down. They're actually going to cause you to really overthink. This is totally a struggle of Stuart, my husband. We kind of joke that he takes forever to write an email, and it's not a joke, it's actually the truth, but we chuckle about it sometimes. But he will get in his head so much about writing an email, it will take forever, and like 80 or more % of the time is spent like overthinking and not writing. Like very little of the time is actually spent writing. So I want to tell you all, like I'm incredibly productive because I spend very little time overthinking about the thing that I'm doing. And I spend all the time, most of the time, just getting the thing done. Another thing that I feel like is a real stumbling block is thinking like, I don't know what to say. that is just not going to serve you. So I'm going to give you the antidote to that in a little bit. So then the other set of thoughts are your thoughts about that thing. So thinking that this email has to convert, thinking that this post that you're putting out there has to get clients for you or has to get calls booked. Thinking these thoughts about the thing that you're doing puts so much pressure on it. Like imagine if I came to this podcast, like this exact one that I'm recording right now, and was like, this podcast has to be the one that sells 5 people into my program. That would feel so terrible. That is not the thought that I had when I came to this podcast. Now, probably a lot of you, actually, this is not a probably. I know for sure people who binge my podcast buy my stuff. Like the more episodes you listen to, the more likely you are to buy my stuff. It is the top converting thing in my business. But I have never had the thought recording a podcast episode that this one has to sign clients. It just creates so much unnecessary pressure. It makes the quality of the work go down. It makes the pace of creating the work so much longer. And it makes it more unpleasant. Okay, so essentially what I'm telling you is time hack. When you have less drama about the thing you're doing, you will get the thing done faster. So here's how I want to recommend that you have less drama. I want you to focus on a few different things. I want you to focus on really nurturing good thoughts about yourself. Good thoughts about you, your ability to succeed, your skills, the value you have to offer. Good thoughts about what the audience is going to think of you. So many of you have thoughts that your audience sees your posts and is like, there she is again, trying to sell her stupid thing. That is not what people are thinking. If people were thinking that, they would have already unfollowed you. Or maybe you're a hate follow and that's kind of funny. But the majority of people who are following you want to see what you're putting out there. They want the value. So this is the other thing I want you to think about. I want you to think about them. I want you to stop this focus on yourself. You know that phrase, navel gazing? I feel like this is the most perfect thing. Sometimes in the entrepreneur space, in the personal development space, we can totally be very guilty of the navel gazing. We are really focused on all the bad thoughts we have and all the self-doubt, all the struggles, and we're deep into that and trying to do our work on that, when really the quick and easy thing that you could just do is focus on your clients, focus on your audience, focus on serving the people who are going to read it, focus on the person it is for. So when I come to the podcast, I think about you. I think about you listening to this, and I think about giving you just one thing that's going to help you grow your business and make money. I'm always focused on that. And it allows me to let go of needing this to be perfect. My podcasts have become way less perfect. I used to script them and then I would read the script. And you probably wouldn't be able to tell because I'm pretty good at reading. Think about when you're reading to your kids, right? When you're reading to your kids and you're doing monotone reading, or you're doing all the voices and you're super animated. So you can read stuff and sound natural. It just takes practice. So I used to do that on my podcast. I used to completely write things out and then just read it on the podcast. Now I give myself 3 bullet points and probably a bunch of things scratched through and a brain map with arrows pointing in confusing directions. And I'm like, good luck, enjoy. And I just turn on record and I let it flow because I'm thinking about you. I'm thinking we're just out hanging out. We're out to coffee. We're sitting in the backyard with a glass of wine. We're just hanging out together. And I'm just giving you my thoughts on this particular topic. And it makes it so much more fun, so much more easy, so much more quick for me to get it done. So, I want you to be really developing and practicing your good thoughts about yourself and having a lot of focus on who the thing is for. And then I also want you to have like really chill thoughts about whatever the thing is. Like for instance, if this podcast is totally terrible, like this one episode, that's okay. That's not going to ruin my business. If I put a post out there that is just not good, that's just boring, it's fine. If I put an email out there that's like pushy and graspy and salesy, fine. It's okay. One thing, actually even like lots of things, lots of mistakes, lots of things you've done wrong are not going to mess up your business. Nothing needs to be that high pressure. Your business is not just like here today, gone tomorrow. This is how I think about it. I'm here for the long haul. So it's okay if I get it wrong. It's okay if I do something the wrong way or make a mistake or say something strange or have a weird vibe. Like I spent a lot of 2020 struggling to sell Mama to CEO on webinars. It was really hard for me. Selling on a webinar was really difficult. And I had weird vibes probably during the selling part. Some of my clients even told me that. They were like, I just like wanted you to sell me on it and you just didn't. And luckily they're clients now. But that's just a part of it, right? Like that's a part of being in business, being a human who is growing, who is pursuing goals, who is trying to do things they've never done before. Sometimes you're going to do it wrong. And when we aren't afraid of that, then it doesn't have to slow us down. So those are my thoughts about how to get things done. And the final thing that I really want to say to all of you is that if you're struggling to get things done, there is probably a reason why. So I want you to be really curious if you're struggling to get things done. I want you to really question what's going on. I want you to ask yourself, is there maybe a good reason I don't want to do this? I was coaching a client recently on this, and she had a list of things she really wanted to do, really wanted to get done, wasn't getting them done, and we talked about it. Like, is this really something that needs to get done? And we realized in her case, no, it was something that actually didn't need to get done. It was not an essential. It was not something that was super important for her current goals. So she could let herself off the hook for not doing it. Sometimes the reason that our brain has is fear and doubt and that kind of thing. And you want to have compassion for that. That's so understandable, right? Humans are afraid sometimes, and it makes us not do things that would help us get closer to our goal. There is no real good reason to beat yourself up for that. Have compassion for that. And then have some courage and get the thing done. All right. That is how to get things done. I will be back next week with more goodies. I will talk to you then. If you like this podcast, I want to invite you to coach with me over in my program, Mama to CEO. There's you, and there's the consistent income you want to make in your business, and I help you remove everything standing in between. It's lifetime access for mastering your marketing, sales, time, and everything else you need to have the business and life you really want. Whether it's making your first 1,000 or 100,000, I can help you do it. To join, go to mamatoceo.com, mamatoceo.com.